Good evening, guys. I hope you're well, and welcome to this very special edition of 41 Club Connects at the Jaguar Land Rover Classic Cars. It is our 75th year at 41 Club, and I thought it would be great to do something special, which would have been our 75th weekend celebration. Tonight, you're going to see some very special things. And to explain all the background to classic cars and all the cars that's been produced over the years, I'm going to hand you over to Daniel Pink and his team, who are going to take you on the virtual tour of the Jaguar Land Rover Classic car. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jaguar Land Rover Classic. Here in a very hot Coventry, so apologies if I look a bit warm. I'm joined tonight by a number of my colleagues who work across Classic, and we're going to take you on a virtual journey of what we do here at Classic Works. Now, you may know a lot about Jaguar Land Rover, but you may not know a lot about Jaguar Land Rover Classic, and this business has been going for 3 years with a very clear purpose, which is to connect your love with Jaguar Land Rover legends with our expertise to create journeys of your lifetime. Now, what are classic vehicles to us? How we look at them is any vehicles that are 10 years post-production. So there's estimated to be around 1.5 million Jaguar and Land Rover legends still in production. And our job is to service all of those customers. So not a small task. Now on tonight's journey and the physical journey, you're going to see a number of the legends that make up the history of Jaguar and Land Rover. But we're not a museum. We are a business, and a business which focuses on 4 pillars of cars, parts, experiences, and services. Sorry, bit of a sun in my eyes there. And tonight we're going to walk you around with the team, and we're going to talk about all of those. So I'm going to introduce Laura Palmer, who's going to be my co-host. Laura works in our marketing team, and Laura is going to support with the Q&As tonight. And we're really keen to answer as many questions as possible as we go around. So at each stage, we will pause and take some of your questions. If we don't get through them all, we will look at all the questions and make sure we pass them to Marcus so they can circulate it. So let's look at some cars. And the first car is coming into its 60th anniversary, and the legend that is the Jaguar E-Type. And I'm shortly going to introduce you to Stuart Kilvington, who is our VIP sales manager. But first, we're just going to show a short video of our E-Type Regal. This is Stuart Kilvington, our VIP sales manager, who's going to talk to you about this E-Type Reborn, the car that he's had a few journeys in, or memories in himself.
Indeed, I have, yeah, really cherished. Thank you very much, Dan. Well, I am incredibly fortunate that I get to spend a lot of my time working with one of the most beautiful and iconic vehicles ever made, the Jaguar E-Type, which is what I'm sitting in right now. The car was actually launched in 1961 at the Geneva Motor Show, which means, incredibly, the E-Type is going to be 60 years old just next year, something I'm sure we'll all look forward to celebrating. The car was an overwhelming success, largely due to its incredible looks and pretty astonishing performance. What you have to bear in mind is not only did this car look good, but it went well. I mean, really well. 150 miles an hour in 1961. And you have to remember, in 1961, you were allowed to do 150 miles an hour on the M1 every day if you wanted to. And something our much beloved test driver Norman Jewis recounted having done on many occasions. The idea behind the E-Type Reborn program was to scour the world to find some of the most original but tired E-Types and bring them back to this facility where we completely strip and disassemble every single component and restore them back to their factory standards. This car has undergone exactly that process. It was actually sourced in America, albeit it was always a right-hand drive vehicle, and it is a 4.2 litre, which refers to the engine size, fixed head, coupe, and original right-hand drive. They do, of course, make a very desirable open two-seater roadster. The cars are brought back to the factory and everything is stripped and disassembled. Every component is remanufactured and reworked, and the car can then be built in any one of the original 27 factory colours, of which this one has been done in its original hue, opalescent silver blue with black leather.
Stuart, there's a number of companies on the market that restore E-Types, and you and I and the team here at Jaguar Land Rover are extremely proud of what we do to restoration of an E-Type. Stuart, just tell the guys on the screen why that is.
Okay. Well, actually, this would be quite a good place to start. One of the most important things when you're restoring an E-Type is, of course, everything that's underneath the paint. And in this case, it's a steel monocoque body. One of the most important things we have to do is strip everything off the car and get it back to a bare shell. And that involves blasting all of the old paint and all the old paint jobs back down to the metal. Once that's been done, we will then go to incredible lengths to establish any damage and any corrosion on the vehicle and make sure it's all rectified. As a matter of course, these cars will always have the sills cut off to give us access to the inside of the car so that we can make sure any corrosion has been removed from there. And very much the same with the underside here. You can see the lowered section and the chassis rails where quite often they've been jacked underneath and that has caused damage. So what we're aiming to achieve is to get all of these beautiful flowing lines again and to achieve a really, really good fit on this door. So in order to achieve that impeccable finish, it's very, very difficult. One of the processes we have to do is when the car is stripped, we do what's called a dry build. And we're one of the few people who has developed the equipment to replicate the weight of the engine at the front and the gearbox and breaker system at the rear. So when we're building this car as bare metal, it allows all the panels to settle in and make sure the gaps are perfect. If you don't do that, when you put the car back together, you end up with all the panels colliding into one another. One of the most difficult tasks we get here through our service department are people having bought a car, bringing it in, asking us if we can sort the doors out for them. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. It all starts at getting all of this stuff lined up at those very early stages of the build. One of the most important and difficult parts to do, of course, is this enormous bonnet, which are bespoke made to each and every car. Now, having said that, these panels are available from Jaguar Classic and have been for quite some time, long before we had this amazing facility. One of the jobs that the team has to do is to trim this leading edge back off to make it fit the car. So it's a much braver and more talented man than me that has to do that. Underneath the bonnet is the heart and soul of the car. This is the iconic XK engine. We'll have had one of the longest production runs of any engine. started life in 1948 in our XK120 that you'll see in the workshop a little bit later, and ended up going in Daimler limousine of all things in 1992. So a really, really successful engine. Has done a lot of racing in period, notably on the 3.8 litre cars, very successful race cars, especially around the 1963 period. When we're doing a reborn, all of this engine is stripped, and it's one of the few components that we actually acid dip, and that allows us to get all the waterways flushed out. One of the biggest problems you have with any period car has always been overheating, particularly on a day like today. Now, it's not that difficult to remedy. Once the waterways have been cleaned out and the water can get around your engine, you just need a good electric fan, a good quality radiator, and the car will sit all day without problems. And I'll vouch for this particular car. I was stuck in 38 degrees in Le Mans for several hours, and I gave up before the car did. I needed water, and the car was just sat there at 75 degrees, even in stationary traffic. So, you know, we really have nailed that. One of the other things that we do with the reborn vehicles is standard. They have a electronic ignition system, which just takes away a lot of the need to do points and all those fiddly little bits. It's invisible, you wouldn't know it was there. And we also have an electronic dynator, which looks like a period correct item, but gives you all the charging capability of an alternator. So you can run your mobile phone, you can run your navigation, all those things, whilst having your lights, none of which you would have been able to do in period. This particular car also benefits from better quality suspension and very slightly wider tyres, just to make it really hold the road. And it will drive all day and keep up with modern cars with no problem. In fact, given the choice, if I could take anything home this evening, it would still be this.
Okay, everyone, so it's on to Q&A for Stuart, and we've had a couple of questions come in from the team. Stuart, so what's the most expensive E-Type that's ever been sold, and what is the team's most popular car that's ever been sold?
Undoubtedly, the most expensive E-Type ever been sold would be one of the light early vehicles from 1963. That was one of the reasons we kick-started our entire program with that vehicle. Having said that, the early car from 1963 is worth significantly more. What that value is, I don't think anyone will know, because they change hands privately. There's always somebody wanting one. So how you actually put a figure on that, but it's several millions of pounds.
Okay, thanks. And we've got Derek who's asked, how do you upgrade brakes and re-engineer E-Types? I've heard they go like stink, but aren't so keen to stop.
Very, very good point. E-Types do have a bit of a stigma around the braking system. That generally refers to the 3.8 litre cars. So the 3.8s used to get terrible brake fade when you were going down hills. So the 4.2s had a much better system, and they also benefited from a synchro gearbox, which the other cars didn't have. Having said all of that, we have still developed a better braking system here. This car does benefit from it, and it does also benefit from improved suspension. The E-Types have one of the best suspensions in the world. Inboard brakes in the rear, 4 shock absorbers. It rides tremendously, and your ground clearance is great. So we didn't need to do a lot, but with the engineering team that we have here, they do lots of validation work on the car to make sure that whatever changes we make there, the implications are understood, that we're not going to shear any components, and it has to go through some very, very stringent testing. These cars have been racing since the 60s, so there was lots of data for us to call upon there. And this car's been doing 2 years worth of testing, and the race is just fantastic. They will allow you to stop in line with a modern car.
Okay, Bill. We've got a Nigel in the house who I'm liking very much, because he said everyone is being very polite and not asking how much a piece like this might cost.
Well, this particular one, I don't think we'll ever get it off me. It's hard to have. I might have different answers to say about that. But yeah, they start at, I mean, the entry level car will be about £300,000. Obviously, when you're doing this sort of project, it varies on the market and the cost of the base vehicle. You know, every vehicle has to be sourced, and those vary in price. And a lot of it is the logistics as well. I mean, we ship cars, the one that just rolled out earlier today came from New Zealand. So, you know, the cost of getting someone there and inspecting it and shipping it. But if you base it on £300,000, but we have had customers spend well over twice that amount on building their dream car.
Okay, and last question, where do you buy one?
You can come right here, or you can sit at home and I'll give you a call and we can arrange it. It's in this modern world, there's various different ways that we do it. A huge number of our customers are international, so a lot of it is very old school over the telephone. We're now moving in this direction with more modern stuff, but it's a very personal, bespoke service, and the cars can literally be delivered anywhere in the world. So yeah, the best thing to do is email us at classic@jaguar.com or get a telephone number and give me a call, and we would happily help you.
I've had a few chats to say that the sound quality is a little bit unclear, so what we'll do is we'll try and stay a bit closer to the mic, but I'll hand over to Dan now, who will lead you on.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Laura, and thank you, Stuart. And Stuart can take the car home tonight if he pays for it. So, as Stuart said, we are moving into the 60th anniversary of the E-Type, and keep an eye out in the press for what we're going to be doing to celebrate that in the coming months. Now, part of the business I spoke about was parts and how we're reintroducing parts back into the industry. An example is the 3.8 litre XK engine, which we announced last week we are remanufacturing and producing, which hasn't been on the market for 50 years. And we've also reintroduced the E-Type toolkit, which I think Stuart has left inside the E-Type. But we'll try and get you a shot of that. And if anyone is interested in one of those, they're available now on our e-commerce site. And they're one of the coolest. And Mitch behind the camera is nodding his head to this parts that we have done. So from one legend of the E-Type, we're now going to go into talking about the other legend that is in behind me now, which is the Range Rover Classic, which has just celebrated its 50th birthday. I'm going to hand over to Mike Bishop, who's our Land Rover expert. Before that, we've got another short video, which will show you one of the cars that we're going to speak to you about. So, Mike has been with Land Rover how many years, Mike? Can we do it? 10 years. 10. Mike's passion for Land Rover goes back to childhood. And he's going to talk to you today about this vehicle and then a few of one we've got for sale and our, again, restoration rebuild program. Mike.
Hello, yes, I'm Mike Bishop. I'm the product expert for Land Rover Classic, and beside me here is this fantastic driving chassis, which was one of the launch vehicles of Range Rover. It was used for a film showing what a revolutionary vehicle this was, because when Range Rover was launched back 50 years ago, disc brakes, full four-wheel drive systems, lightweight alloy V8s, they were completely revolutionary. And the vehicle itself revolutionised the premium vehicle market. So this vehicle showed off those strengths. And if you look around it, you can see it's all cut away. And in that film, they're showing it all driving. The main key feature being that fantastic four-wheel drive system there. If you think about it at the time, nobody had anything like that in the other manufacturers. At the back, we've got the road levelling suspension, famous box section chassis. And of course, this made a vehicle which they launched, and they described it as 4 cars in one, believe it or not. So it was a luxury car, an estate car, a practical car, and an off-road car. So that was the pitch, and it was really took the world by storm as a revolution. So much so that the vehicle was placed in the Louvre in Paris as a piece of automotive art. Nothing had ever come about like it before. So the other parts that were integral to that vehicle was a very strong body section made out of steel, and as well as the famous aluminium, which was part of the Land Rover since 1948. And over here, we have a fantastic vehicle, and I absolutely love this vehicle. If I had a chance, I'd put this into my collection, but I've got 6 already. So this is a vehicle which came from South Africa. It's a Suffix B. Suffix B was the vehicle that only produced for 1 year. It was the start of the upgrade. But the great feature that it has within it are these original early seats. This is what once again was one of the revolutionary parts of that original offering. So the idea famously was a hose out interior, because you've got a practical car, so you might want to go and do some work around the farm or the workshop or work site during the day. And but at night, obviously, want to take the wife out or do something like, see some friends, so hose it out. Now, these seats, they haven't been available for the best part of 45 years, but we're remanufacturing them. This original set shows that they can crack. But it's programs like that that really make Land Rover and Jaguar Land Rover Classic so special to be a part of. The rear bench seat here, to get a vacuum form tool that big to create it, the engineers who were involved in it had to find out how they did it back in the day, because nobody had done it since the Range Rover. Now, the other thing with the Range Rover, which is very instrumental, very influential at the time, was plastics. Back in the day, if you go and have a look back at that E-Type, plastics hadn't quite come into vehicles then so prominently, and so this fascia, which is quite low down within the screen, gives you fantastic visibility. It gives you that awesome stadium-style command driving position. And this vehicle is available now. We call it a Works Legend. So I'd quite happily have it. But
As Mike said, this car is for sale now, and it is one of our Works Legends. Now, we haven't chosen to fully restore this vehicle. We've chosen to keep it in this condition. Mike, do you want to explain why that is?
When the vehicle arrived, came in off the truck, and I remember just going to it, so turning the key, which I always do, the lights came on the dash, started it, and it ran perfectly, absolutely mint. And we said to the guys, we have to. I just wanted to take it away and take it home then and there. So the idea was such a well-preserved vehicle. We wanted to keep that preservation. We wanted to nurture it, love it, and so we looked at it and thought, it's a little bit too good to restore, so we'll make it a Works Legend. So we've done an immense amount of mechanical work to the vehicle, and but it's fantastic. Now, the next one I want to show you is the full Range Rover Reborn. So this vehicle, it came from Australia. It was in a little bit of a rough state when it arrived. It done a little bit of off-roading once it had sort of done its normal life. The inside had been barbecued completely from the UV, so all the dash was all falling apart and everything. It was a good honest old truck, but it needed a full restoration. So pulling it apart, assessing it, doing through all those processes, which is very similar to the E-Type from a mechanical point of view, but Range Rover, being an off-road vehicle, we get the chassis, we have it fully scanned for any fracturing or metal fatigue or any of that kind of thing that happened to these vehicles. And once that's done and assessed, we get the chassis fully restored, we get it recoated and wax oiled inside, so it's absolutely perfectly preserved. That steel body structure that I mentioned, we have that completely dismantled, fully dismantled. So we have that restored, rust-free and E-coated, which wasn't an original specification, but it guarantees the vehicle will last well, over 50 years if you to use it in its original form. Now, talking about that interior, you can see with this vehicle, that dash fascia there with your command, that's all brand new. That's all completely re-engineered. The seats are all brand new. This is the herringbone fabric, so Suffolk Sea Range Rover. This is the real point in time, 1974, when they started to move upmarket, and you got options of different seats. The rubber mats. Now, the seats and the rubber mats, they'll be becoming part of the parts availability, that Dan talked about. And if you have a look at this vehicle here, down this line there, that black rear C-pillar really gives you that sort of Range Rover that we all know and love from the 70s right through to the 1980s. Now, I just quickly want to show you under the bonnet. Let's get this. So under the bonnet here, you can see some of the lovely details we put into the car, and we make sure that often a lot of these we keep original, and that's its plates of manufacture from Solihull, and that's its ADR compliance plate from Australia. But one of the fantastic things of being able to work here and to get such authenticity to the car is all the original drawings are up in the behind the offices upstairs. So if there's something we really want to specifically look at from a point of view of, only happened for a short amount of time, we go and get the drawing out, look at how it was done, replicate the finish. So all these brake lines and all these little bits and pieces, they're not just a kit you get from the shop. No, we've had them specially engineered from scratch.
Okay, so to the Q&A, we've got Richard, who's definitely one of us, because he said, as an owner of 8 so far, I think the next one might be electric. When will that be available?
I couldn't possibly comment about the future, but I mean, Range Rover is such a strong product, and it's a fantastic vehicle, and what we ever do come up with, I'm sure we'll have the DNA of this original product in it.
Okay, and we've got Derek, who's asked, how do you remanufacture the plastics? Are you using 3D printing or?
Yeah, we've used in the plastics, we used quite a few tricks, I'll say. We looked at all kinds of industries that use plastics and 3D printing and, those kind of things. We have some at Gaydon in the engineering facility, but we wanted longevity. And we found that the film industry is very good at that. So we spoke to them for a bit, and that's where we got the idea for doing it this way.
Okay, we've got Lord Kelly Clark, who's asked, why use steel brick pipe and not conifer?
Yeah, so we got the drawing out, and zinc plated steel is what's original. And under the bonnet of a Range Rover, it's such a visual part. So if you put a conifer set of lines in there, it comes out, it really stands out. And we felt that the authenticity of the vehicle, deserved that original finish.
Great. And RHS has asked, what was your favourite refurb that you've ever been involved in?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think, when you're starting with a program like this, Car Zero Range Rover Reborn was something really, really special. And I love that vehicle. And at the moment it's in Munich, and I'd love to have it back, just take for a drive and enjoy it again, because it was so much fun getting some of these programs going. And you know the cars so well.
And last question, on a hot day like today, aircon would come in handy. Does this car come with it?
Aircon in the 1970s was a dealer fit option, and it's something that we've looked at and we'll continue to look at. And if the opportunity comes to make it available, yes, we certainly will.
Okay, great. Over to Dan.
Thank you, Mike.
No problem.
The aircon on today would be very useful. We're now going to move through to our workshop, where all the technicians have gone home, and this is where the team work painstakingly to restore these vehicles. And these vehicles, and I understand from Marcus that we have a huge global audience tonight, which is really exciting for us. And these products go to global customers. So now I'm going to take you through to the workshop, but to give you an idea of the scale, because we're using an iPhone, you won't see it. We're going to play a short video which sort of shows the sweet shop by which the team working. here in our showroom, which hopefully you've just seen the video of in the showroom. We're going to talk about our bespoke products and our experiences. And I'm going to hand over to Mitch Kemp, who's going to talk to you about two of his favourite things. One is this vehicle behind me, the bespoke XK120, and the other is an experience that I promised Mitch, if he does very, very well for the next 50 years, he will get to go on this experience. Mitch.
Thanks, Dan. So yeah, I'll definitely hold you to that. So yeah, as Dan said, I've got the incredible opportunity to talk to you guys about the XK120 and two cars in particular that are really, really special to us. So the XK120 was originally developed in 1948. It was launched at the London Motor Show, and the name 120 actually comes from the vehicle's top speed. So the vehicle is capable of 120 miles an hour, which is obviously in period was the fastest ever for a production car. In 1949, the car actually went to the Jaguar highway in Belgium, and with the windscreens removed, smashed its original record, and then producing 138 miles an hour, which is just incredible. This car behind me actually belongs to international supermodel David Gandy. David is a huge car fan, massive classic car fan, and owns multiple cars, but was really keen to work with Jaguar, a brand that he's loved for forever, to create his dream XK120. We started with a vehicle from 1950s. So the vehicle was a 1954 car. It's from California. And the car was brought back to Classic where it was stripped down. And then we started the process with David to be able to build the car back to his specification. So just go on to the exterior of the car. So you'll see it's finished in solid black with some really exclusive and bespoke elements of the car that David had asked for specifically. Just bring you down to the wheels actually, because that's quite a really good point. The wheels on this car were originally wires. There are a few options that you can get with this car. You can have wires, you can have painted wires, or you can have hubs. David, because this is a completely bespoke car and it's come through our bespoke program, David wanted to go with the painted hubs, but to sort of embellish them even more, we added the black lozenge, which has never been done on a Jaguar. It's something we can do as the manufacturer, so it's actually coming to us is the only route to be able to do that officially. Other things on the exterior of the car, and one thing that actually makes it really, really cool, and one of my favourite features of it, is the Monza filler cap. So obviously famous for the Monza racing. This car, and well, especially the XK120, has massive connections to things like the Targa Florio, Le Mans, the Mille Miglia. So really, these accents really just show off the really true race-inspired nature of the vehicle. I'll just take you around this side and take you inside the car so you can have a little look at it. So David obviously wanted a completely bespoke interior for the car. The seats are done in aged tan, so it's not an option that would have been necessarily in period. And they've been finished with this incredible lattice pattern that is almost, it's almost like fashion. It's incredible. The leather goes throughout the whole of the car, and the seat backs, so just the level of detail, the seat backs there are finished in aluminium. Usually they would have been painted and lacquered. They've just been lacquered as bare aluminium, just to really give that extra defining feature. So I'll get in the car because it's quite interesting. We've given the car some more legroom. David's quite a tall guy, and these cars are notoriously small. So what we've done is extended the pedal box back. We've given it racing pedals. We have a smaller steering wheel, and the seat rails actually push further back into the car, which give it a more comfortable position. David really wants to drive this car. He wants to take it on rallies and do all kinds of things with it. So giving that dynamic driving experience is really, really important. The engine in this car is the original block. So it's the original 3.4 engine. So obviously the block that we've been talking about so heavily today in the E-Type started life in the XK120. This car really is just an absolute dream. And it really will challenge David to take it to places and use it. And actually, on that note, we have been talking obviously about the Mille Miglia and some of the amazing feats that this car has achieved in its lifetime. We have a completely once in a lifetime opportunity to own an XK120, but not only that, to take it on a journey that, I mean, it's a bucket list kind of thing. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. We have secured a place, and it actually gives you chills talking about it. We've secured a place on the Mille Miglia for this year, and it's one of 400 people to be able to access that. And this car has been works prepped, especially for that journey. Mille Miglia, that's obviously 1,000 miles across Italy, so the name states exactly what it is. Some of the most amazing driving roads and scenery. It's originally started in 1925. The journey is some of the most iconic points on there, or one of the best points on there, is actually leaving Rome, which is where everybody says that is where we need to be, 100%. So it's definitely on my bucket list. You heard Dan say before that it's the one thing that I will be doing once he's given me that go ahead. I'll just take you quickly around this car. The car, as I said, has been completely factory works prepped. We've removed the bumpers, and we've actually taken a lot of learnings from David's car. So the bumpers have been taken off. We've kept the wire wheels, as you can see, and the interior has been given a massive overhaul just to make it really, really comfortable and really a really key car to take on that journey. So that's my part sort of over. I'll let Laura take over and just ask me some questions, I guess, if you've got some questions.
Okay, yeah, question time. So one of the questions that came up was kind of clarifying who it belonged to, who the black one belonged to, and someone thought David Gandy, but it's actually David Gandy.
Yeah, that's not correct. So yeah, David Gandy is an international supermodel, so you'll know him from D&G campaigns. So he did the light blue campaign. He, like we said, is a huge car collector. He's got some really nice cars in his collection, and actually, for me, the standout is his XK120, which is the car that we've just shown you.
Okay, we've got another one, which is from Andrew, who's saying, do these XK120s have a roof?
So, no, they don't have a roof. They did a fixed head. Actually, there's one right behind the camera there. They did a fixed head. They do come with a tonneau cover. So last year, actually, on the Mille Miglia, it rained super heavy. So a lot of the drivers and a lot of the photography that you will see, a lot of the tonneau covers would have been covering. So a tonneau cover will go over the passenger seat and then expose the driver so that he can still drive and maintain the interior. Cool.
Okay, and we've got one that I think actually might be great for the Q&A at the end, because it's asking about who's been kind of the easiest person to work with over the time here. So I think we might park that one, leave it till the end, and instead I'll ask you, Mitch. You talked about the black lozenges on David's car. Can we actually see those? Can we take a little bit of a closer look?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, like, as we said, the wheels on this car are the steel wheels, so obviously different to the wires that you see on the other car. So these lozenges here in the centre, they would have been red originally with the black right in. So that's something completely bespoke that only we can really do legitimately, being that we are the manufacturer.
Well, and last question, how much for the XK120?
Well, I mean, of course, an experience to go to the Mille Miglia is absolutely priceless. Like we said, this car is available and we are taking calls on it. So if anybody wants to pick up the phone, you can take me as your passenger.
Okay, and now it's over to me, over to the girls, and I'm going to take you on a walk to our next location. And what we thought we'd do along the way is kind of give a little bit of an overview as to kind of the incredible workshop facility that we have here. It's definitely my favourite part of Classic Works, and I guess the reason for that is because it's where all the magic happens, and it's incredible to look out of our office every day and see all these incredible gems being built by our team. We've got here 54 workshop bays that are dedicated to vehicle build and servicing. We even have a specialist XJ220 servicing area where we're even lucky enough to have some of the founding members of the XJ220 program working with us today, which is just awesome. You'll see as we kind of go past that we've got a lot of cars in build at the moment. We've passed some cars that are currently in servicing. We've also passed some of our Land Rover V8s, which we launched as part of Land Rover's 70th anniversary back in January 2018. But the great thing about this facility is that it's purpose built, which means that we were able to have our own stripped down area for our donor vehicles. We've got a trim shop, we've got a paint shop, and we've got an experimentation room where all of our new projects start from scratch and are born. that is behind closed doors so that none of the team can see initially what's going on. And now we're coming into our collection, which is an incredible home full of treasures from the past that have huge historical importance for us as a team. And it houses over 400 vehicles as well. Without further ado, I'll hand you over to Dan.
Thank you, Laura. So this is the collection, and you're going to take a closer look just in a second, but we're going to talk about our last car, or our last two cars, and almost the pinnacle of what Jaguar Land Rover Classic has achieved to date on our Jaguar products. We're going to show you a short teaser video which shows one of the vehicles we're going to talk about. So this is that Jaguar XK-SS continuation car that you've just seen in the video. And we're going to talk briefly about this and then move on to the last continuation, the latest continuation vehicle that we are finishing building, the Jaguar D-Type. Stu, do you want to outline how we got to the XK-SS continuation, what we did?
Well, it really, I suppose we need to trace it right back to the roots where it all began for us with the continuation cars, which actually the first thing that the business did, which were 6 lightweight E-types, and they were based on the 1963 all aluminium race cars. But funny enough, we referenced earlier on in terms of the most expensive E-type that it sold. From the learnings of that car, I mean, we only made 6, and they sold without us really needing to tell anybody. So the demand was already established, and there was already a pent-up demand for this vehicle, the XK-SS. What you need to understand with a continuation car, this is not like any of the reborn vehicles that you see, in that we start with nothing. Everything that you're seeing here today, we have had to create, and we have had to make it completely authentic and original as the car was made in theory. So this is one of 9 customer vehicles that we built. This is actually the prototype vehicle that you've just seen in the video, and has been used by Richard Hammond on his shows, etc. So this one doesn't get sold, and we continue using it in developing parts, etc. So the car is out and about and being seen. With these vehicles, we literally have to create every single panel from flat sheet. So there are chaps spending hundreds and hundreds of hours to English wheel these components to make them, and then they are then riveted together, and not like your modern car where everything is stamped out. There's hundreds and hundreds of hours that go into making just the body alone, and it's absolutely imperative we get the dimensions exactly right on this car. You know, so there's a lot of learning. We had very lucky that the customers who own the early cars in period were happy to lend us their vehicles, and we did lots of scanning as well as getting all of the drawings out of deep storage, which is no mean feat. You get them out of the old salt mines and get them here to assess them, culminating in us building 9 entirely bespoke vehicles for our customers.
So when we finished building the 9 cars, we then started building the D-Type, a car which I think holds a very special place in Stuart's heart. He's travelled all around the world, and I'm very jealous of the memories Stuart's made on this journey. Stuart, do you want to talk to the team about what we've done on this vehicle, what we've produced, why we've produced it, and about a bit about how the team work and Classic works to get such a perfect finish?
Well, this vehicle, as you can see here, it differs quite greatly from the XKSS over there. There are actually 2 derivatives of Jaguar D-Type. The Jaguar D-Type started in 1954. It was very successful at Le Mans. It had some fuel starvation issues, which stopped it from winning ultimately, but they made some modifications, and in 1955 they went back and won, winning again in 1956 and winning again in 1957. So this car really is a legend. I mean, it is an absolute legend, and for all the right reasons. The cars in period started from a short nose car, very much more similar to the XKSS that we see over here, culminating in this, the long nose car, with probably one of the most iconic features of any car, this aerodynamic fin. And all of that is on a genuine reason. This is all about the aerodynamics of the car, and it is all about creating the highest possible speed and stability. So this is directing the air over that car and keeping it stable at speed. Now, Norman Dewis, in period, actually managed over 190 miles an hour in one of these vehicles during the race. Truly incredible. No airbags, no ABS, not even any seat belts. This particular vehicle is our prototype launch vehicle for the D-Types. We are making 25 continuation vehicles, and we're actually coming to the end of that production run now, which will be a sad day for us. But this is a long nose car, so it benefits you, differs from the front end. The bonnet is a lot longer to make it stable. It actually benefits from a wide angle head and a fin at the back. It also benefits from a passenger door, which was very useful. When it comes to building these cars for the customers, every single piece of it is really thought about from the customer's perspective and what it is he wants to achieve. The culmination of that would be the bare aluminium car that, if anyone's read Magneto recently, you may have been lucky enough to see. But just the attention to detail with every single rivet, every screw, the leather, the spacings of the vinyl, the research that's gone into the materials to make these cars completely authentic.
Talk to us about the number of cars we've decided to do and why.
Well, in period, the car was such a success as a race car that Jaguar really understandably wanted to capitalise that and had a desire to make 100 vehicles. Now, unfortunately, they only ever got to 75. Probably racing regulations changed and the car wasn't desirable any longer. So they never actually achieved that magic number of 100. So we decided it would be a great opportunity for us to finish that story and finish those 100 vehicles. So when we build the last car 25, which we're only being 25, is in the building as we speak, that will be from beginning to end from 1954. That will be the 100 vehicles done.
These vehicles, Stuart looks after a number of customers, including all the customers that have bought D-Types. Do you want to give a bit of an explanation around, or talk a bit about the journey that we take customers on and the personal which, if anyone has got access to Magneto magazine, please look at, which is a bare metal D-Type, but it was from a customer's own vision of the D-Type, and that's really important for us at Classic about ensuring we achieve that vision for their product.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very personal journey, and it's on a very one-to-one basis. You know, a lot of our customers are around the world, so that does involve me doing a lot of travel. And I mean, the most recent car that I specified required me to spend 3 days with my customer, traveling from one location to another, just to get 4 or 5 hours of quality time with them to actually understand and help make those decisions, because we are building something here that's going to last longer than ourselves. You know, we are actually creating a piece of history, and we really feel that. And for the customer, you know, they kind of feel that as well. So making those decisions in terms of the colour and the trim, and everyone really wants to be individual in what they do. And a lot of it is the joy of the journey for the customer as well. You know, they are always invited in to see the cars, and they get to see the bare metal if they want to come and see the bare body. Always updating them, so I'll always be doing this kind of thing actually on WhatsApp in different time zones to show them the progress of the car. The things for me personally is actually the customers have invited us to journeys, you know, so I have had some of the most incredible experiences ever that I could possibly conceive in XTS and D-types. I mean, this particular car, I've been driven through the Oberalp Pass and the Thurka Pass in Switzerland, and just to see the joy on people's faces here when they hear it coming. I mean, the supercars that we were with, far faster. But the noise, this got the vote from all of the customers there with priceless vehicles. This got the vote for the best sounding car, and you could hear people cheering as you're coming up the mountain pass, you know, as they hear it coming. So yeah, it transcends just the car. It's about what we want the customers to do, you know, enjoying the entire experience.
You have a really hard job, don't you, Stuart?
It's awful.
It's really,
it is. Yeah, I
really
drag myself out of bed in the mornings.
What we really wanted to do for you was, and Stuart raised the point about the noise that this car makes, but we didn't believe it does it justice to start it here on this microphone. And what we want to do is welcome all of you to Classic Works to have in time when coronavirus has settled a private tour. And please, you know, our house is your house, and please come here and look at the cars. And it would be to stop, because the hair on the end, the spine tingling moment when we start these cars. So I think the last bit that I'd like you to talk about, Stuart, is around, you know, we get a sort of, let's say Stuart gets the more glamorous job, I would say, traveling around. But the passion that goes into building these cars isn't just from Stuart or the team behind me or myself. The team who actually build the cars, it is, and you know, when you speak to them, they will say it is the best job they have. And we almost have to prize the cars away from them when they're finished, because it's never enough perfect for them. Stuart, do you want to give an example of some of the conversations you've had with the team to let them know it is finished and how far they go?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, they follow this car on its journey. You know, so the team of technicians will. It is their baby, and they follow it through from beginning to end. And we go through some very strict auditing processes here. The benefit of being a manufacturer, we can use all of that learning. But one of the key things as well is allowing the team to meet the customer. I mean, that's a really important part at the end of the journey. But quite often, before we can do that, the car goes through the audit, and just they're literally unwheeling it into the audit bay, and they are still wanting to get every single screw nut lined up millimetre perfect. You know, the tolerances and the underside of this car and the engine. I mean, of course, we can show the engine bed to people if that's something that would be of interest rather than starting it. The attention to detail that goes on is in every component underneath that engine as well. You know, the team really do put their heart and soul into perfecting. And this car is well used now. This car has been, you know, the last event. This was driving around on a frozen lake at the end of February. So this has not been treated kindly. But the attention to detail underneath this engine bay and the effort that the team make, including the engineers as well. You know, if we think about the materials that have gone into making this car, anybody who is a cyclist may remember Reynolds, quite a famous company for making bicycle frames. Well, they were equally the only people who could make a material light enough and strong enough to make frames for a Jaguar D-type material. Now, they hadn't made those frames for a very, very long time. But being the manufacturer, we have the ability to go back and ask them to do it again. So the materials used under here are exactly the specification that they were in period. And they are using techniques that you don't see any longer. I mean, you can see underneath here the rivets that hold the car together. It gives you a bit more of an idea of how the panels are made. Yeah, the entire structure is riveted together.
Okay, and now it's on to Q&A. So we've got quite a few questions that have come in that I think we're going to park for our generic Q&A, which is just about to come. So I'll keep the questions focused on D-type for now, the cars. So question from Ian, when are Jaguar going to win Le Mans again?
Well, if I had my way, we'd be doing the classic Le Mans in this year, but of course that's not happening this year. Classic Le Mans is cancelled, but yeah, I mean, in terms of modern racing, who knows? I mean, obviously they've been very focused on the electric side of things, and as our customers are out and about all around the world enjoying these cars in a racing environment very, very often, you don't have to go far to see a D-type being used in anger along with E-types. So yeah.
Well, question from Stephen then, the alternative view. Is it possible to tune the engines to be quiet?
No, in a word, we actually had to try in order to comply with the legislation at certain racetracks, and we always break it. So no, we had to go and ask the neighbours if they would put up with us for a couple of Sundays because they are so noisy. But to be honest, once you've heard it, the last thing in the world you would ever want to do is turn it down.
Okay, so Nigel has asked, what recognition do these vehicles get from the original manufacturer?
Which is us. Well, from the original owner, really. I mean, it was always something that was going to be asked. You know, was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? How would it be received? Well, I've just been driven through the Arizona desert in one of those in exactly that colour, and the chap has it home in his garage, his D-type that he's owned for 30 years. So we have many of the customers of our continuation cars are our owners of original early period cars. What it allows them to do is they can use this one in anger a little bit more without the fear that they're going to eradicate a piece of history, which has always been the big problem with owning such a valuable car as an early D-type. It's not just the fact that it's financially valuable, it's the fact that you've got a piece of history there, and if you're the chap who writes it off, people don't want to be responsible for that. These cars, you can fix them, go out and use them, enjoy them, drive them, and it allows those customers to go out and drive something they love more than they've been able to with their period.
Okay, and from Charles, is one of these continuation models eligible for classic car racing, so something like Goodwood?
We have already had several of the vehicles have been given FIA papers. Ultimately, it is up to the organisers to decide what is eligible for what. We can't dictate that. Having said that, we have already had D-type, and the lightweight E-type has already competed at both Goodwood and Le Mans. So it would certainly seem it is possible.
Okay, thanks everyone. So we are going to go to general Q&A. So if you want to start posting in any additional questions, we can go to that, but I'll hand you over to Dan.
Thank you there. I think the question around do they get the stamp of the original manufacturer? We are part of Jaguar Land Rover. We are the original manufacturer. And we're the only people that can do these and they're not be replicas. So thank you for coming on the journey around today, and we hope that it's been okay. I'll be honest, this is our first time doing this type of live event, so we look forward to your feedback, and the team behind me have put a lot of effort in. So we're going to do our last video, and then we're all going to take a socially distanced seat behind a very special car, and if anyone can name what it is just from seeing it, then Mike Bishop will give them a prize, and we look forward to your questions.
In the audience who clocked what they thought is an ex-Apple or an XK120 on the ramp in collection.
Wow, Stuart, I'll look to you for that one.
I can't see any. There's one 120 down there, just at the front.
don't think that is one. We've got a number of XK120s.
Yeah, we've got lots of
in there.
120s.
We'll come back to you and confirm, and if so, we'll share the photos.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you can imagine with 400 vehicles in here, trying to keep on top of from memory which ones are which is sometimes difficult.
What's the lightest car that has ever been worked on, and did it have any work done on it specifically that made it as light as it was?
That's an amazing question.
The Silk Cut.
Silk Cut or the
XJR15.
XJR15 as a road car is probably the loudest car that we've ever had. Equally, we have had some cars that have had crazy exhaust systems that they want removing and turning back to standards. So yeah, as a production, still operational, the XJR15 definitely the one. Yeah,
Really incredible car.
Okay, Ian's asked a super important question. Do you have an apprentice scheme to keep the specialist skills alive?
Yeah, that's a super important question, and something which, so we do have an apprentice scheme, and it's really important for us. I think Laura mentioned, we have some of the team who originally worked on the vehicles across engineering and in production, and trying to maintain the continuity of experience and knowledge in this business is so important. We're actively looking, and when you come here, you'll see a number of apprentices around who are working side by side with these individuals to pass on the knowledge that we won't let happen, but that could get lost.
Okay, so David has asked, what about the XKR 100? Wasn't this to mark the 100th anniversary of finding a Jaguar?
My favourite car.
I'm not sure, yeah, because the 100th is coming up very soon, so it can't have been. I remember the XJR 100 very well. Great vehicle.
XKR 100 with an average 100 convertibles and 100 coupes for the European market. So that was the reason for the 100.
Back in 2001.
You
That's correct.
can have a job here, Marcus. We started.
Yeah.
Great. Do it.
The 100th anniversary is coming up very soon, so that might be something to think about.
Another super interesting question from Matt. So he's asking, do any of your customers use a classic as a daily commute?
We've definitely had customers who have used it as a classic commute and come in. Do they
Some of
now?
our team as well.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Some of our team.
Yeah, that's important.
I have customers who use classics daily. They tend not to have one, but they'll have a suite, and then they will generally take a classic to suit their mood. Part of what we do, I think, with the customers who have collections of cars is building a car for a different requirement. So the Range Rover fills a very different role to the E-Type, and the little Series 1. I mean, everyone who looks at this time of year for taking the kids. The smallest way of getting 7 people to the beach and back again.
I think as well, just to say that, I mean, in terms of drivability, as Stuart said earlier, he drove the E-Type 20 hours, was it, Stuart?
Yeah.
The long way around to Le Mans. So, I mean, you can drive these cars as far as you want. If you want to commute in them every day and drive them to the south of France, go ahead.
So the point that Laura made about our team using classics as daily cars, when you come here, you'll see we've got specific parking bays for classic outside for our staff. And that is in the summer, predominantly full and overflowing. In the winter, not so much because the roads get grit and it's a bit hot.
Yeah. Barry's asking, are we a fully owned subsidiary?
Yes, we're a full part of Jaguar Land Rover, fully owned by JLR.
I think that's it. We've got a lot of thanks and really enjoyed it, which is awesome. Just checking to see if we've got anything else. Where is the XJ13?
That will be at the trust.
Yeah, so that's at the British Motor Museum at the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust, which is just down the road from us at Gaydon. And if you go into the museum, you can see it within the Jaguar section.
Thanks to you, Daniel, and your team at Land Rover Jaguar. You've done us proud tonight. Absolutely fantastic. A very good first effort. It's great to see some British engineering, which is the best in the world. And it's great to see you guys putting it all back into practice. going back to the old plans and putting these fabulous cars back into the original condition. It's fabulous. So thanks, Daniel, Stuart, Laura, Mike on the Land Rover. The guy with the white shoes on the XK 120, didn't catch your name. I'd just gone to fill the gin glass up.
That was Mitch.
So thanks to you as well. Absolutely brilliant, guys. We've also got, also thanks for the fabulous invitation for us all visit at some stage. That's a brilliant offer, and I'm sure we'd be really pleased to take you up on that in whatever groups we can organise. Hopefully when lockdown's down we can come in a few bigger numbers if you can cope with that. But we'd love to take you up on that. Thanks very much.